Greetings. I'm Marcus Bass, Deputy Director of the North Carolina Black Alliance. During our 19th annual North Carolina Black Summit, we held a pre-conference entitled The State of Democracy. In this moment, there are so many changes happening to the way that we vote, the way that our vote counts, the way that our vote is protected, and the way that vote is casted towards our future, that we wanted to take a moment during that panel discussion to really have a second for all of the different voices that have experienced voting and democracy over 50 years or more, to come together to give us your biggest hopes and dreams for the future of democracy. You see, it's very important that we don't just relish in where we've been. We don't just commiserate where we are, but we have a future that is embraced by where we need to go, supported by individuals that are working across various platforms, various communities, various parts of our state. The way in which we engage with these questions is an intentional process by which we really want to pick apart each and every single one of these answers that folks gave us in a way that helps us build Black political power, not individually, but collectively.
So this dream says, I want my future generations to grow up knowing they are safe and respected by the country that was built on their backs of their ancestors. I want my nieces to never have to be turned away from health care. Oh my goodness, I love this one because health care should be a basic human right. Right here in North Carolina, we finally expanded Medicaid by over 10 years, and I think we forget what President Barack Obama sacrificed, all the other things that he could have done in addition to the Affordable Health Care Act, so we're thankful for it, but it honestly made it difficult for him to do much of anything else. But we're so grateful for his sacrifice, and that's really a big reason as to why it took us so long to expand Medicaid, because the Affordable Health Care Act was enacted by a Black male president. So folks would rather not have health care than give care to folks that need it the most. And so we still have so many health disparities. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from childbirth. We see higher rates of prostate cancer among Black men. Black women have more aggressive forms of breast cancer. So when it comes to healthcare, it really is an equity issue. And in this anti-DEI environment that we're in, they're going a step farther by making it more difficult for folks to even research that, to even research why is it that Black men are more likely to get prostate cancer? Why is it that Black women with connections to West Africa have more aggressive forms of cancer? There is science and data that can help us sort all that out. So I also dream of a world where we have health care for all that does not discriminate against us, that doesn't say, hey, because you're Black, I know it's all on you and you're not eating properly. I dream of having doctors that don't deny care or ignore your cries for pain and help. I dream of a healthcare system where Black women and men and young children feel comfortable opening up to their healthcare providers, to saying what's wrong with them. But I do also dream of a healthcare system where we have more people that looks like us. We need more Black doctors, more Black physicians, more Black nurses. So I really dream of a healthcare system that looks more like us. That will improve our outcomes, but I do dream of a healthcare system that is more accessible, especially to people of color, since our health outcomes are worse than they should be. Because it is America, we all should have access to the American dream, but if we are not healthy, that is a very hard thing to do.
So what I have is an aspiration from a person here at the conference, and it reads: land, food stores, power, energy sources, own utilities, food sources. And so if we want to think about how we can engage on these particular thoughts, there's something we need to be aware of. And when we talk about energy sources, one of the things we have to be aware of is that most things in the 21st century are now going to be powered by energy. And so we have to be absolutely engaged with our local utilities, those co-ops that provide energy. We have to make sure that we have conversations with people in the General Assembly who make the laws as it governs utilities and electricity. Energy is something that we're going to all need. and we have to make sure that we have control of those industries and the access to that. And that is where you have to be engaged and be intentional about all the things that you do. When we think about land and food, any opportunity that we have to be involved in that kind of industry, that's good. I always like to talk with people about black farmers and what we've been able to accomplish in this country. That number has gone down. I would certainly, as people at this conference, think about how we can go back to our communities and think intentionally about how blacks can be involved in the production of food and the distribution of food. The last thing we want to do is to have somebody else control one of the most vital things to us, and that is food. And certainly when it comes to land, the last time I checked, they're not making any new land. And so that is where we have the opportunity to be intentional about how we purchase land, how land is used. I'm a black landowner. I own about 80 or 90 acres in Mississippi. And so I would encourage people to think long and hard about how we can invest in those type things that don't go anywhere, as opposed to investing in things that have a very short shelf life. Those are the things that I would encourage us to be as intentional and know that we do have a place in the conversation as it relates to land, food, power, energy sources, things of that nature. Be intentional.
I want my nieces to never have to be turned away from healthcare. When I think about health, I think about the backbone of our society. I was a biology major in school, and food insecurity and public health has always been something that's near and dear to my heart. The fact that so many people are fighting just for the right to receive medical care, having to stress out about how to pay their medical bills, is something that I don't want for my kids. I want my kids to be able to go to the doctor without worry, and whenever they go there, have free, ideally, but if not free, cost-effective, accessible, and equitable health care. So yeah.
A future where they have access to education, resources, banking, housing, medical, and etc. They don't have to feel as though they're in a fight all day, every day. They have the ability to dream and execute those dreams because their circumstances won't be burdensome. It'll be hard because they have to do the work, but not because there are so many barriers. Yeah. I think inherently this is essentially about agency. This is something that I see in Mecklenburg County. This is something I see in the community that I grew up. The ability to have some kind of dreams, aspirations, whether it's as simple as housing or as complex as ambition, but how many barriers kind of come in between there? That's inherently what every child wants, no matter your race, your creed, your background, no matter which county you're from. And so that's what this note is essentially talking about, is can the only barrier to my aspirations and dreams be just myself and the work that I have to put? Are there any other institutional barriers that I have to circumvent that other folks don't have to put in? And so that's essentially what I take away from this.
Future, you want young people to inherit a place where everyone is represented, a place where education is available for all children, no matter their disability, free speech without and with voting rights. When I look at this, and I look at the 4 points that they talked about. One, I do believe representation is everywhere because everyone needs to be represented, and also feel like that their voices are being heard because that's key. Because freedom of speech is needed, as well as the great representation that's needed to really advocate for what we want. And then two, when we talk about education is really the keys for success. So making it affordable and available to everyone, because when we educate our population, that's when we start seeing great social changes in our society. And education, it will always be a positive change for tomorrow. And then third, when we talk about free speech is key because we always gotta highlight what's needed, and we also gotta make sure that people's hearts, when they're heard and you listen to what their needs are, that's when we start seeing too that, hey, we can listen to you, we hear you, we understand you. And that's when we start having that empathy piece. Because now more than anything, it's spiritual warfare. rather than what's going on with the left or the right or people's different ideologies, but more so about how is it that we meet in the middle. It's about having empathy. No, I may not understand what you have went through, but I can understand and be there with you because I have empathy with you. And then fourth, we talk about voting rights. Voting rights is so key because it's so consequential because we literally live on the backs of our ancestors. We talk about the abolition movement, we talk about civil rights movements, and even to this day, that we're still fighting for the change off the beliefs, off of the people that had less, and with less, we have to do with more. Because we have more, we can do more. And I think about so much of MLK and all the other fighters before us, and that's what gives me the time and also place to continue to do what I do. Because I think back to if they were in my shoes today, what would they do? And I'm thinking, even to this point, I think I'm doing what they wanted us to do and even further because there's so many different things that the world is going through and so many different challenges. And we have to remember to ourselves, history is not repeating, but human nature will repeat. And that is something that we have to combat. We have to combat and get back to what is the spiritual, what is the moral fabric of human beings. And when we can deal with that, when we can understand what peace, love, and truly loving one another, that's when we can override and get over hatred. That's when we get over despair. That's when we get over being at odds with one another. Because when you truly listen and have a conversation with someone, they truly do want to connect. We talk to each other, but we talk to each other like we're at odds with one another, but in reality we're not. We're saying the same thing, just in a different way. So I advocate for peace, I advocate for change, and more than anything, I advocate for love and understanding. Because I always believe peace be unto you, brother and sister, and peace be unto me, because we have to love one another more than anything.
You see, the responses from the individuals that participated in this discussion are only realized once we work together. Once we understand that our collective power, not our individual thoughts, but our collective power is what's going to get us there. Now, upon first inspection, this just looks like a paper bag. But in reality, what we're seeing here is the opportunity for a successful, brighter future for ourselves, for the next generation, built on the ideas of where we are right now. When I hold this bag in my hand, I think about our ancestors who toiled in the fields, not knowing that one day they would have the opportunity to see their lineage, their legacy, leading government, leading education, leading healthcare. And we know until we come back together in that same formation to have hopes and dreams for our future, we won't fulfill the mission of our ancestors until we carry that message forward. And so we're going to continue to read these messages. We're going to continue to pour into our future by speaking life into this democracy. And we hope that each and every single one of you join us on this journey. Your message may not be in this bag, but your opportunity to write the future lies in your ability to help us build back a bold democracy for each and every single individual that casts a vote, that has the ability to be a resident in this country, and that believes in the collective vision of us working together to form a better future.
Freedom. Freedom for the children. Freedom to breathe fresh air. Freedom to drink pure water. Freedom to run and play safely, not worried about an abductor, not worried about violence. Freedom to think in school. Freedom to talk your own language. Freedom to wear your hair however you want to wear it. Freedom to be you however you see you. Freedom to play with whoever you want to play with. Freedom to choose what you want to eat. And freedom to dream whatever you want to dream and believe in whatever you want to believe. That's what I think freedom for the children looks like.
This may look like it's just a paper bag, but it's so much more.